Welcome back to another monthly trophy journal video where I'm going to be talking about all the trophies I earned in the month of March 2025. This was almost so close my best trophy hunting month ever in terms of number of trophies. I came like 6 or 7 trophies short of my all-time best month, which was back in, I think, March 2022. But this month I got a lot of trophies, and a lot of them came from one particular source, which is a game I'm very excited to talk about. So stay tuned and you'll see what that is. But yes, settle in, grab yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, listen to this one like a podcast or stare right at the screen. It's up to you. Maybe grind out a trophy and let's talk about what I accomplished last month. So first up, at the very beginning of the month, I finished up and got the Platinum Trophy for it's not Cosmic Star Heroine, that's a different game, for Citizen Sleeper 2. Although Cosmic Star Heroine, also a good game. But yeah, Citizen Sleeper 2, phenomenal game. At this point, my favorite game that's come out in 2025. And in order to get the Platinum, you had to do 2 trophies. I mean, you didn't have to. You could do it all in one run, but I really wouldn't recommend that. And that's because you need to get this trophy here, A System in Crisis, for completing the game on dangerous difficulty. So the way that Citizen Sleeper 2 works is there are these systems in place to kind of like add stress and burden to your runs as you play through. So you'll be, applying these dice rolls that you get into different situations. And if you basically fail that check, like you don't get the roll you need, you'll take stress, and then stress compounds into damage, and damage compounds into fewer potential rolls. And like the systems sort of pile in on each other. If things start to go wrong, they go very wrong. Dangerous basically doubles the rate at which things can go wrong. In addition to some other stuff, like you have like more upkeep, you get hungry twice as fast and things like that. So it adds a lot of pressure to the playthrough. Although that is really, at least to me, I feel like it's counterbalanced by your familiarity with the systems in the game. So if I was to do dangerous difficulty right away, that'd be way too much. Especially considering the big thing I forgot to mention is that dangerous difficulty is permadeath. So if you actually fail a mission, you're dead, your run's over. If I did that on the first run, way too much pressure. I would not be able to handle that. But after finishing the game, being able to kind of mainline things, knowing what to expect, it went a lot better. It went very smooth. So it was actually a very pleasant second playthrough, fun to see some other bits of story, and ultimately resulted in us locking in that Platinum. Phenomenal game. Highly, highly recommend that everybody play it. All right, and then we moved on to another backlog cleanup. This is for the game Ghostrunner, the first Ghostrunner, not the second one, which for those that have never played it, this is a first-person like ninja combat game. Think Mirror's Edge, but like one-hit kills type of sword slashing and things like that. So they released a DLC pack. I actually bought this on sale a long time ago, but I went back and finally cleaned it up. It serves as a prequel to the original game. Realistically, the story isn't so much what I'm playing Ghostrunner for. I'm sure for some people it will be additive, but for me it was mostly just nice to have basically new obstacle courses to go run around and do all the ninja things that you do in this game. That is a good time. So you have to play through the DLC, it's tricky, but it's not too terribly bad. And then the way that it's structured is that each mission basically has one sub-objective that you need to accomplish. So you'll need to defeat the boss of one level in under 3 minutes, or complete a particular level without setting up any upgrades or things like that. And most of those are very doable. You can pretty easily clear most of those your first time through the level if you're paying attention. Not a big deal. The big one that is going to be tricky is this one. Complete another awakening without dying. You can see they're all relatively rare because it's DLC, but this is the only like sub 10% one. That's because another awakening is the first level. So you'd think, that's not going to be so bad. I mean, it's just the first level. I can handle that. But because it's the first level of the DLC, it's actually relatively long and involved. It's probably like a 6 to 10 minute level, depending on how fast you go through it and how cautious you're being. Probably closer to the 10-minute side. And there's a lot of enemies. It's not just like a tutorial level. There's a lot of like rooms of enemies that you have to navigate. And of course, the hardest sections of the level and the places you're most likely to die are in the last like 25% of the level. So your runs are kind of you doing this like 5 to 10 minutes of setup and then hoping that you don't fail in the very end, which if you're not like mentally in the right headspace for that can be very frustrating to deal with something like that. But if you go in and you say to yourself, like, I expect to die, I know I'm going to biff this for a while, it's not too bad at all. So I recommend it. Fun to go back and do the DLC, and this is now another 100% on the profile. And then we get into some interesting ones. Let's start here. So here we have Resident Evil 6. Now, Resident Evil 6 is an interesting game. This one was already on my profile, and I have absolutely no memory of playing this game at all. In fact, when it was on my profile, I thought it was a friend that had in the past played on my PlayStation. And I was like, oh, a buddy of mine put this on my account, whatever, who cares? And then I went and I looked at my Backloggery, which for those that don't know, Backloggery is the website I use to track my game collection. And all the games that I've finished and played, it's like my most robust journal of like all the games I've played behind me, not just PlayStation stuff. And I looked up the entry for Resident Evil 6 and it said that I played it co-op. So apparently at some point I played like the first campaign co-op with a friend. It completely just exited my mind. So I guess it's justified that it's on my profile. But anyways, the reason that you see it here is because there are several DLC online modes that exist that came out after the fact for Resident Evil 6. There's 4 of them actually. And they're all variations on kind of like Horde versus humans. Sometimes it's just literally one person plays as the zombies, one person plays as the humans. Sometimes there's like when you die, you become a zombie, and then if you kill a human, you come back as a human. Sometimes there's like you are playing as the zombies trying to kill like this AI that the human player is trying to keep alive. It's just for different variations on that. But they all exist and they all have trophies. And so in looking through my profile, this is one of the games that is like online required. It's on PS3 and you just don't know how long those servers are going to be available. Now, PlayStation 4 Resident Evil 6 does exist. There is a port of RE6 to PS4. So that if those servers are the same, I'm not sure if they are or not, but if they are, that would probably extend the longevity of this compared to other games. But I didn't want to take the risk. And so it also just so happened that a good friend of mine and fellow trophy YouTuber here, Matt Kuo, he and I both had this on our account. So we decided we were just going to, for an hour or two here and there in the mornings or on a slow Friday, we were going to spend a little bit of time boosting up these trophies together. And so we've been working on this all throughout the month of March. The first one that we did here when we started is this mode, which I'm forgetting the name of. I can actually hop in and see. It was Onslaught. So this is probably the best of the modes, if I'm being honest, is this Onslaught mode. As you kill zombies, you build up this combo multiplier, and then at any point you can send a wave of zombies over to your opponent's game based on that combo. So the more combo you have, the more zombies you're going to send over there. So think of it like Tetris Attack or something, where you're sending junk lines over to your opponent while playing Tetris. It's like that, but Resident Evil 6. So actually a lot of fun. I wish I had played this back in the day. It probably would have been a good time. But he and I were working on just all the various trophies. Usually most of these DLCs have like 2 or 3 trophies that are very easy to earn. It's like this one, like win while in a dying state. So you just have to get downed and then win the match. Or win in 3 different stages. Very easy to get within like a couple of minutes. 30 combo chain is going to happen very naturally. But then there are usually others that will take multiple hours of boosting to get. It's usually like win 100 matches or something like that. So you'll see them as we go through. But this was us starting up that first DLC pack. And it was funny, as we were doing it, I got this defeat 500 Javo, which is a base game trophy, you know, defeat 500 of the zombies from RE6. So a little bit of boost to that one as well. All right, so moving on then, I went back and I don't know why I was feeling this. I was just in the mood. One of the games on my profile that I'm really bummed is unobtainable is Portal 2. I did so much. I played through the campaign, loved it. I played through the co-op campaigns and I loved it. And I just never got those last 2 trophies that are now unobtainable back before the servers were closed. I forget exactly. It's like one of them is going through the tutorial in co-op with somebody who's never played the game before. And then the other one is hugging 3 friends on your friends list, both of which require Portal 2 servers, which are now unavailable. So I just never got those. But I went in and I looked, and there were a couple of trophies that I had never earned that I could still earn. And I was like, you know, I would like to at least go clean Portal 2 up to my satisfaction, right? Like I'd like to get everything I can get because Portal 2 is such a phenomenal game. And so I went in and I earned a couple of these. One is completing chapter 3 in hard light surfaces using only 5 total portals. Not too tricky, but it does require like a little bit of jank. Like you kind of have to like bounce off of a light bridge in a way that feels a little awkward. And you only have one chance at it because if you die, you lose your portals. And and the janky part's at the very end of the level. So it took me a couple of tries, but really wasn't too bad. I did both. I just controlled both players. You know, I just swapped controllers back and forth. I wasn't playing with somebody. My wife would have been happy to do this with me, but I didn't bother her with it. And I was kind of like waiting to tap her in if I needed her. And then taunt GLaDOS in front of a camera in each of the 5 co-op courses. That's just like kind of a easy collectible thing I never did. So I went and did that. And yeah, stay tuned for more Portal 2. I believe there's more coming up. So now as we get into the second week of March, we are officially knocking out more of that Resident Evil 6. Here we see the defeat your opponent 10 times with enemies you sent. So that's kind of like RNG based because you're not really in full control over whether or not an AI zombie or one of the AI zombies you sent kills your opponent. We would try to like game it to help that, but thankfully it wasn't too big of an issue for us. And then sending 2,000 enemies to your opponent's side of the map. So you probably on a good match send like 90 to 100 opponents or enemies to your opponent's map. So, you know, this is like a 20 to 30 game type of boost. And that's all 5 of the trophies for that DLC. They all have 1 gold, 1 silver, and 3 bronze. So we earned the first DLC pack and then we got started right away on the second one. The second one is called Survivors, which it's bad. I like barely already don't remember this one. I think this is more like just like a regular PvP mode, but you know, just only use melee attacks and then win 5 games in a row. Both of those very easy to boost up. And then we get one more Portal 2 trophy here. You can see this is a relatively rare one. This is still alive. This is complete Course 4 with neither you nor your co-op partner dying. So Course 4 means all of the chambers in that area, which is like 10 test chambers or 8 test chambers in a row. So you have to do a lot. And some of those later ones are pretty long. And honestly, this one in particular was stressful. I almost had to call in the cavalry on this one because there's a couple of stages towards the end of this that require, it's hard to describe, but basically like quick reflexes from both players. So there's a section where one of the 2 players is kind of going on and off a button, which changes the direction of gravity. And the other player is shooting portals to try to create this pathway of gravity wells to get through a wall of spikes. And you have to make sure that you're like hitting that gravity button at the exact right time to switch the gravity. And you have to have the right portals in the right spot. at the right time. And then on top of that, there's a few like crushers that you have to avoid. So maybe you need to stall by switching gravity back and forth a few times. So it's not like, it's not free, right? It's very reaction based and difficult to do one player, two controllers. Thankfully, I don't feel like I should have, but thankfully I was able to get it my first try, as well as get it the final stage first try, even though I made a mistake or two on either one. So there's a little bit of a buffer to get it, but it was tense. And I believe that this is the last one that I needed now. So now my Portal 2 will forever be at the percentage it's at. It's at like 48 out of 51 trophies. Only the 2 in the platinum that I can't get. And that's okay, you know? That's just part of the story of me playing and loving this game, is that I never did those trophies, and we accept the ones that we can't get. But now I have everything in Portal 2 that is possible for me to get. And then we're just continuing on with these boosts. We moved on to the third game mode here. This is one where one of the players controls this like big, almost Nemesis style creature. And so we just had to like basically kill each other back and forth doing that. Didn't really take too long. Across these 3 DLC packs at this point, we've probably put in, to that point at March, maybe 15 hours or so of boosting. But feels good to get all those online ones knocked out of the way. And now we get into a single trophy here in Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I did dust off my Yakuza Like a Dragon save, and we were able to start making progress on this again. I've set this down so many times for no good reason. This game is so good, but I kept just like getting distracted by other stuff. So I think this is the 3rd time I've picked up from the same save after having set it down. Kind of like once a year I do this, but this time for sure, I'm going to see it through to the end. And that will become a little more clear as we go along. But one of the trophies I earned was raising my part-time hero rank to senior hero. This is basically like do a lot of side missions around the town. So if you love turn-based RPGs though, or you know, I guess if you already love that Yakuza like sense of humor, then like that playfulness mixed with like very genuine, earnest scenes as well, you don't need me to recommend this to you. But I will say, RPG fans that have never tried this series, give it a shot. It's really good. Then we have another game that I started up. This game just came out. This is called Wanderstop. So fascinating game here, Wanderstop. There's a couple things to talk about. One, I'll give you an overview of what the game is. So Wanderstop is ostensibly a game about making tea for customers that come in. You play as this character that has a very strong self-image of themselves as a fighter, and for circumstances we don't need to go into, they're basically like forced to take a break. They need to, this is like a timeout for them. They need to pause, stop, slow down, relax, and then, you know, go forward from there. And to do that, they work part-time at this tea shop, creating tea for the other like adventurers and folks that wander into this grotto. And so people will tell you what they need. They'll say, hey, I want something with lavender or a little cinnamon. Or sometimes they'll be a little more vague and they'll say, I'm looking for something that makes me feel nostalgic. And you'll do all of the kind of farming sim things where you'll go you'll plant the crops, you'll water them, you'll harvest them, you'll dry the tea leaves. And then you have a book you can reference that are like, here's all the different fruits and things you can grow, and here's their properties. So someone will give you kind of vague instructions, and then you look through the book to be like, what makes the most sense for them? And you give them the tea. So it's a pretty basic loop. I mean, folks kind of know if they're into that. And importantly, I'm really not. Like, that's not my type of game. For as great as I understand them to be, I'm not like a Stardew Valley kind of guy. I liked Harvest Moon 64 on Nintendo 64, but beyond that, those like slower paced, cozy, kind of like crafty sort of games are not really my thing. But Wanderstop in particular, it's so much about, one, the presentation, but two, the writing and the themes that underlie that writing. This is really a game that has a lot to say and takes you on the journey of like character growth alongside the character in the game. It's really hard to describe without spoiling things, but for folks that are very perfectionistic, or for folks that, you know, sometimes struggle without direction or anything like that, for folks that create anything on the internet, be it art, podcasts, videos, whatever, those folks are really going to get something out of this. And the game is more than the sum of its parts as a result. I started this game thinking like, oh, this is good, but it's not for me. And I ended it like really grasping what they wanted, really understanding it, and like it like teaching me a valuable lesson, which is not true of every game. It's very cool. The game kind of tied in with that, you know, this is a game that is teaching you to slow down, smell the flowers, relax, and to match that, the trophy list is really interesting in that it's not like super tied to objectives. It seems to be loosely tied to what you do and maybe loosely tied to your playtime, but you'll be playing and trophies will just randomly pop and you won't understand what you did or why. They just show up, and it's at very arbitrary times. It's not like, oh, I just, you know, poured a cup of tea and then something pops, and then, you know, okay, maybe the description is vague, but it was brew 10 cups of tea. No, you'll be just like walking from one place to another, or like it'll be like 2 minutes after you handed in a quest or something like that. So the game basically detaches the trophy from the act of play to let you focus more on the game itself. Really cool. You're just guaranteed to get the platinum if you play it. It's basically a free platinum, but it's a fascinating way of doing things. If you want to learn more about that, my friend here on YouTube, Platin Adam, did a great video where he talks about the trophies in Wanderstop. So I will link that video in the description, or it'll be in the description or somewhere. So go check there and watch Platin Adam's video. Great video. Great YouTuber too, by the way. And you get a little bit better understanding, more than what I can tell you here about the Wanderstop trophies. So this isn't even all of them. This is just the first day that I played it on March 15th, but that was, you talk about one trophy in that game, you're kind of talking about all of them. So, and then a little more boosting here with my friend, getting more Resident Evil 6 trophies. I believe this is us cleaning up that DLC pack. And then more Yakuza Like a Dragon. So we're going to skip over some of those just in case you're spoiler sensitive, but I will say this is me starting to approach the end game. At this point, I believe I was in chapter like 13 or so. I will say pretty deep into the game. Let's just say that. And starting to kind of like get the trophies for like maxing certain relationships and things like that. So pretty cool. Then, you know, they keep releasing these amazing Astro Bot speedrun levels, and I keep having a great time going in and playing them. So I went in and did the next round of Astro Bot trophies. This is all the speedrun levels, and just kind of a quick 1 hour cleanup. Felt good. Some good references in there. Great to boot up Astro Bot again and kind of got that one back up to its 100% status. Then we just have a ton of different Yakuza Like a Dragon trophies that you can kind of all sum up by this one. Finish the battle arena. So at this point, I've kind of hit the late game grind, and you can see that I start popping like reach level 50 with the main character type trophies. So I am basically, the way that I was handling the Like a Dragon trophy setup is I did a lot of what I needed to. I got a lot of the miscellaneous trophies out of the way. And then I know that coming up, the kind of the big main trophy that walls people from getting the platinum is that you have to do a very difficult final dungeon. It's a dungeon that was in the original Japanese release of the game. It was DLC added later as like an extra difficulty, really designed for like New Game Plus players. But in our version, it just came out alongside the base release. But in order to beat that, you basically have to have grinded your characters up to level 99. So right before going to the final dungeon, I just basically started that grind during situations where, you know, my wife and I were watching a show, or I had like a half an hour here, half an hour there, not enough time to like get into the meat of the game. And so that last dungeon is honestly going to be very easy for me when I go in and do it, but I'm sort of like preparing myself now for that very end game grind. And then more RE6. Here we got win 10 times, protect BSAA without any of them getting hurt, and defeat it without the creature dying. This is the last mode. This is the one that we're currently grinding, and it's the one that's going to take the longest too. This one is actually pretty stressful to protect the BSAA without any of them getting hurt. So this is the mode that I mentioned before, where there is an AI that you, as like Leon or whoever, Chris, you have to protect them for as long as you can. And then it switches, and for however long you protected them, that's how long your opponent has to protect them when they play as the humans, and whoever protects them longer wins. But protecting them without getting them hurt is pretty random because, you know, there's AI zombies coming at you all over the place, and you can't really control what ones are going to show up and when. Some of them have guns that can knock you down and stun you. Maybe the AI, you know, does something dumb or misses some shots, whatever it might be. And so this one took a little while for us to get, or actually it took no time for my friend to get, because he's a god and just got it right away. But for me, there were multiple rounds where I'm like, dude, why is this not happening? And then finally I was able to barely squeak this one out. I think my AI BSAA companion ended up taking damage like in the cutscene after the round ended, which didn't count, and I still got the trophy. So I was like, whew, seconds away. And yeah, now you see we're just hopping between doing side quests and grinding in Yakuza and playing more Wanderstop. And then boom, we pop that Wanderstop Platinum. I mean, you can see almost half of the players have it. So this is a very simple, it's like a 1 out of 10 simple Platinum, but a very interesting game and one that I would recommend people check out. Whew. Okay. Now we get into the main game of the month, I would say. So for those that don't know, I, in the past, was a very big Rock Band, like super fan. Like I was score chasing, you know, trying to get like min-max my score to be the absolute best, getting on the leaderboards. I was on like fan site forums for like really dedicated Rock Band players. Me and my wife play Rock Band all the time. I play drums, she sings. It's like a regular routine for us. We both love it. And so I'm always looking for a good rhythm game and always looking for a good drumming game in particular. And there's this game on PlayStation VR 2 that I heard about but hadn't tried called Drums Rock, which is an air drumming game very stylistically similar to the original Guitar Hero games. I mean, you can tell from the font right here, but also when you're playing the game, like the life bar and combo meter is very similar. You know, it goes up to 4x, and, you know, with multipliers can go up to 8x for the scoring. You'll the colors of the enemies coming down. All will be very familiar. And so I downloaded the demo to try it out. And, you know, in the game, you are holding your 2 drumsticks, and then these like circular demon bat type enemies come towards you, and you have to drum on whatever relevant drum that matches their color at a certain time to defeat them. And so it's just you, like, you know, playing Rock Band drums or Guitar Hero by defeating these enemies, but that's like the visual aesthetic of it. I played it immediately and knew this is a game for me. You know, it worked really well. The haptics on the Sense controllers is actually really good at like mimicking the feeling of hitting a tom or a snare. Like you feel almost a little bit of bounce back, a little impact. And even like clicking the sticks together, you could feel like the controllers would vibrate in a way that would make you feel like there was impact there. Really well done. So immediately I knew I was going to buy it. And this is a game that has a lot of DLC. And as you can see, a lot of DLC trophies. So we can just scroll here. These are all DLC packs that you can earn in Drums Rock. So one game has all of these trophies. We're going. More DLC. More DLC. So it turns out, as you can tell here, Drums Rock is one of the like 5 highest point total games on PSNP. It's one of the games with the most trophies to earn. It's right up there with like Vampire Survivors. So if you do everything in this game like I did, you unlock just shy of 200 trophies. And the reason for that is, as you can tell, I'll hop over here. Here's like the Linkin Park DLC pack. Or let's go up here to this song, one step closer. Every song that's DLC in the game has a trophy for beating it on easy, medium, hard, and expert. And you will earn the lower trophies when you, based on the hardest difficulty you are able to successfully finish. So you only need to beat it on extreme if you're good enough. So if you are, doing well at the game, those trophies actually come rather quickly. And thankfully, a lot of my like Rock Band and general rhythm game experience mapped over to this game. So I came in and I was like very much able to hit the ground running. At first I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all of these songs on extreme. Some of them are pretty tough. But there's always an adjustment period when you're playing a rhythm game. There's always this like, just kind of like getting used to the tricky parts, the weird chords you're going to have to hit and things like that. So after a day or two of kind of getting into the rhythm of the game, I was able to do a lot better. And I mean, we're going to see a lot of trophies and I'll talk about more of them, but we'll just go here and see. If we go to the 100% club on this game, you can see I am the latest achiever. And at least as of right now, because they haven't added DLC lately, I am the fastest achiever of this game with 3 days and 22 hours. So this is gonna disappear once they add a new DLC pack, because everyone's time frame will shift. But feels good that for right now, I'm the fastest achiever in Drums Rock. So there is a campaign you'll play through. The campaign is set up pretty interestingly in that you are like, you're playing through songs of increasing difficulty, but they add interesting modifiers. So like sometimes you're only allowed to use one drumstick, or sometimes they replace hitting the snare with clicking the drumsticks together, something like that. And so it keeps it interesting and it mixes it up. So, I just played through the campaign. I did every now and again pop over to some DLC and just try it out. So here's me doing a Simple Plan song. Here's me playing a Linkin Park song. The Offspring, Lit, all this stuff. And unlocking, like, you'll unlock cash that you can use to buy new drumsticks and things, new cosmetics. And so that's what like Glove Collector is. Then we get a little more Yakuza grinding. That was probably in that evening of March 23rd. And then the next day I'm right back at it. And I knocked out a couple more of these DLCs. I did a lot of the DLC for the Linkin Park pack, which is their most recent DLC. And then knocked out some Cyberpunk DLC. There's music from Cyberpunk, I guess. I have not played that. And then here is me completing the campaign mode and earning 141 stars, which is like beating the campaign mode and doing all of the optional things. So in addition to just beating the level, sometimes the game will ask you to, finish the level with more than 75% health, or get a combo of at least 150. Stuff like that. And so that was me earning all those. So this is basically me finishing the main campaign. Then I do a little more Yakuza. And then here you see I had to get an S+ on any song. That one is really not that bad to do because you can just grind out the like easiest songs, and then get an S rank on 10 or more songs on the hard difficulty. That's not that bad either. And then boom, I popped the platinum. 7.26% rarity, pretty good. Now it's rounded down a little bit because it's a VR platinum, but still pretty good. And then I just kind of went whole hog into the DLC. At this point, I was able to pass things pretty well on extremes. So you see I knock out the Offspring, Space Hog, Lit, Collective Soul. They had like a pack that was a lot of 90s and 2000s era bands. Hopes and Dreams, there's Undertale difficulty, and it actually comes with cosmetics. So if you see footage here of me playing through this game, you'll see the Undertale cosmetics because I was using those sticks in that drum set. But, you know, we completed Hopes and Dreams on extreme difficulty. I did all the Simple Plan songs, all the Green Day songs, some great ones in there. They have I Would Walk 500 Miles from the Proclaimers. They have a lot of like fantasy metal, you know, bands like Ailstorm and things like that. Just a lot of like silly upbeat type stuff. So this is all these here, all songs from Drums Rock. Alter Bridge, Pantera, whatever it might be. And then we get to this is me doing Pantera. I believe there's some Disturbed in here, 10,000 Fists, Down with the Sickness. And then we get right here, the final trophy I unlocked. I saved the song for the end, one because it's one of the harder songs, but two because it felt like a fitting conclusion. Megalovania on extreme difficulty. There's 2 Undertale songs in the game. And you can see this is a pretty uncommon one. 3.33% ultra rare trophy. So it felt really good to knock this one out. I love Undertale too, so it was a fitting conclusion. And yeah, I'm really proud of that 100% that I have. I hope that they add more DLC because I want to go back and play some more. I probably over the course of 3 days put like 20 hours into this game. I was really hooked. So, great game if you're a rhythm game fan. Highly recommend it. Drums Rock is super cool. Then we get more leveling here, you know, maxing job ranks and Yakuza Like a Dragon level ups. So just me, again, preparing for that final run. And then my month ends with me starting up Split Fiction with my wife. So we played it this evening and earned a couple of trophies on our first night playing. We're still currently playing through Split Fiction. Great game. If you are a fan of, you know, It Takes Two, or just like a good co-op game in general, I definitely recommend it. We're not looking at like a trophy guide or anything like that. We're just playing through. When we're done, we'll go clean up whatever trophies I missed. I don't want to like follow along and make sure we're doing certain things. So yeah, really enjoying it and really enjoyed March. So that is my month. You know, like I said, a great month. Thanks to Drums Rock, almost like 300 something trophies that I earned. Feels pretty good. And I can tell you now, April is already off to a good start as well. So feels nice. To conclude on our stats here, you know, we're a couple days in, but we're at 205 platinums. We've finished 239 of my 430 games, and we are at 68.26% completion. We actually have been under 4,000 or under 5,000 unearned trophies multiple times, but I keep adding a new game that brings me back up over that. So we're very close. Realistically, we are under 5,000. So let me know, as always, what you have been earning in the last month, what games you've been playing, and platinums you've been hunting. And until next time, appreciate you hanging out. Peace.